very good evening to everyone, and thank you for joining in on this exclusive Tsaaro Academy webinar. Perfect. So, I think we can probably also share a bit about ourselves, before we begin with the session. So, I'll just hand it over to you first. If you can give a quick introduction about yourself and your current role, and what does a day look like in your life as a data privacy professional too. So, over to you, Vinod.
Thanks, Krishna. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening to everyone who joined us from various locations. My name is Vinod, and I'm a data privacy and data protection expert, and I have a close to 6 years of work experience. Currently, I'm on a break. Earlier, I was working at senior data protection analyst at Hopin, and also I worked close to 5 years at Big Four in EY and KPMG. I'm starting my new position in January in 2023. Um, that's all about me, and looking forward to interact with all of you and answer any of your questions in the coming 1 hour.
Perfect. Thank you, Vinod, for that introduction. A bit about myself. My name is Krishna, and I'm a director here at Tsaaro. I look after the security and privacy compliances. And prior to this, I worked for a big four as well, within the security domain and the privacy domain. So that's where both Vinod and I started our careers, from one of the big fours, right? And it was a great learning experience. Great how it helps you shape your perspective. And I think that perspective will also come in when we start and talk about data privacy and what it means about it. Before we dive on to data privacy, just wanted to share a bit about Tsaaro Academy as well and what we do as an organization. So Tsaaro Academy is one of Asia's largest data privacy oriented training academies. We are official partners with IAPP, PCB, DSCI, and also we have a bunch of practical courses that are aimed at making it easier for someone to transfer into the data privacy domain too. So right, so that's a bit about us. And just a disclaimer, right, that whatever discussions we are having here, it's purely from our own individual perspective. It is not something where we are representing our organization. It's just that the knowledge gained over the past few years of experiences that we have, we're just sharing that information with you. Looking at the agenda, we will discuss about why privacy, right? How is privacy relevant? The career options. What are the essential skills of a data privacy professional? Looking at the legal aspect of it, as well as the technicalities of things that you have to undergo or that you have to understand to better enable you to become a data privacy professional. And also looking at how certifications pan out and how are they relevant or important when you look at data privacy, or how do they actually help shape your career or probably shape your trajectory when you're looking at the certifications part as well. And yeah, of course, last but not the least, the earning potential, right? If you are choosing a career, you would also want some kind of remuneration for it, some kind of monetary benefit, and that's also something we'll cover little towards the end of this session. Vinod, I would just hand it over to you, right? Why privacy, and what does privacy mean to you, and how did you enter into the data privacy field? So over to you now.
Thanks, Krishna. Yeah, I'm an engineering graduate and passed out in 2016 and joined EY through campus placement. And I was part of diverse cybersecurity practice team, advisory practice team. It was early 2017 where still the GDPR enforcement is not kicked off, and it was about to coming into enforcement in 2018. That is the first time I was plotted into a data privacy project. I'm not really sure about what the project is, what GDPR all about, and what the obligations, requirements that are needed for a company in order to comply with that regulation. That was the first time I was introduced to the data privacy and the importance of it, and how it really matters to the companies with respect to the compliance, and the impact that that particular project created me to choose this particular profession. Um, with respect to privacy, it's all about data privacy. It's all about protecting the personal data uh, and governing it right from the collection, processing, sharing, and archiving and destructing it. So you have to follow certain controls, making sure that you are protecting the rights and freedoms of the data subject. Along with that, if you are or a company or a particular institution falling into a scope of one of the various available applicable regulations, you need to also follow the law of land and the needed other obligations as stated by them. So that's all about privacy. And again, if you come down, drill down, it's more like I said, it's a both the right and the freedom of the data subject. And as you are providing your personal information to them for availing services as part of uh, getting some purchasing goods or anything, you have a right on your data, whatever you have shared to them. And protecting your right is an essential and it became an essential part of an organization from last couple of years. And again, not just the personal data, but also in India and other regions, your financial related data is also considered into the scope of personal data. And other thing is user empowerment, making sure that people are aware of what the privacy is and the importance of it. And other thing is, as technology is evolving in last couple of years, we tend to see more kind of profiling activities. For example, if you see your day-to-day activities on your social media platform will tend to uh, target your target based advertising you can see on your social media platform itself. That's again kind of profiling. So when organizations are profiling you, they also have to protect the personal data and respect the rights and freedoms that you have. So these are the major essential factors why privacy is considered as one of the major business function in coming years, not just now, for another 5-10 years. People will be talking about privacy as the technology is evolving. The compliance with respect to privacy is also a challenging for organizations to balance the development at the same time respecting the user's privacy, right? So that is why data privacy and data protection field is kind of is a hot cake in the market. If you have the right set of skills and right set of knowledge and right certifications, you would be in a wonderful organizations, and you would tend to learn more and see what exactly in this particular field.
Vinod, I just also wanted to touch base upon, right? Privacy is something that's also very subjective to people, especially people who are trying to venture into it. And there's also a lot of cloud around how to actually start. So if you had to suggest something to all our attendees here, where to start, what would be, one of the advices that you have in mind?
Sure. With respect to data privacy, right? I suggest everyone to go through GDPR regulation. That is the standard and a basement kind of regulation that is followed by all the regulations that are already went live, and also the upcoming regulations as well. So understand the concepts of data privacy, what exactly the definitions under GDPR, what is personal data, what is sensitive personal data, what are the data privacy principles, and in order to achieve the principles, what are the controls or other things that you need to follow as part of the regulation. Along with that, another very good example is to visit the biggest companies like Google, Amazon, or any other company. Visit their website, sees their privacy policies, see how they what they mention in their privacy policy. When you are applying for a job, will be also a candidate privacy notice provided by companies. You can also go through them, and for a product based companies like Twilio or any other competitors, you can visit their legal policy center. You can tend to understand how they deal with the personal data when they are selling the products, and you tend to understand how organizations are dealing with personal data. So one good example is understanding the basic concepts, principles of GDPR, because many upcoming regulations are considering GDPR as a standard based regulation, and they are making some changes according to the law of land. Understanding the core principles of the GDPR, and then visiting the websites, the other domains of a particular product based company, understanding how they are dealing with personal data and how they are achieving the compliance. So that gives you a bit of uh, clear picture about how organizations are generally trying to achieve the privacy compliance.
Yeah, I think that's a great insight. I mean, if you look at all these big tech companies, although they are scrutinized a lot about their data privacy practices, but they have at least given consideration to the privacy policies or notices that they have in place. So it's really a good start on trying to understand, how you should be, what are the key areas you should look into, as well as the kind of language that goes into writing these privacy policies. So, also looking at India as a nation and coming from a user perspective, India is a country which is a trust deficient country, right? People don't inherently trust each other, which causes a lot of course, differences. And looking at people don't really even consider much of talk much about their personal data, right? That kind of seriousness is not there when you look at personal data. People don't read privacy policies. They would strictly just go and accept, and they just want to make sure they get the service instantly. So what is your suggestion? How should a user change their perspective on things, and how can they understand how important is data privacy to them as a fundamental right to?
That's a very good a point to discuss, right? So, like you pointed out, the user empowerment and users having proper understanding about the use of their personal data, what will happen to it when they submit it, is something really, really very, very important. If you consider one basic example, when you purchase a new TV, when you are setting up a TV itself, there is a privacy notice, and by default, people would be selecting the checkbox would be selected that whatever the data that you are processed as part of using the television services, that data is being sent to the product development team in order to understand how the user are interacting with the product. So likewise, there is there is for each and every, whenever you want to log in or create a new account or use a new application, people generally tend to select, or they don't even go through the terms and conditions and the privacy policy, right? So that is really, really essential and important aspect, because without that, you would without reading that, you don't really understand how your information is being processed, where it will be transferred to, how long it will be stored, and for what purposes it will be used. That is something essential for people to know and understand at this point of time, because if you see, in India, your personal data is being sold in various markets. So unless until people have right set of knowledge and people started recognizing the importance of their personal data, we can't really change the the, the, the current environment itself for the tech companies, right? So now you can also tend to see WhatsApp is automatically sending you the details about the offers and the upcoming sales or any other aspects. So that is because you just purchased on a lifestyle or any other outlet, and you have not gone through the terms and conditions, or as in India there is no privacy regulation in place, they are directly reaching out to you through WhatsApp and spamming your WhatsApp, because in India and anywhere else, WhatsApp is something tend to a personal conversation and is used only for a personal aspect, right? So when companies are trying to enter and want to reach out to you on that personal space itself, then they are taking a lot of advantage on you. That is because there is no law of land in this country with respect to data privacy and protection. Sometimes even if there is a law on, you without reading and the privacy notice and terms and conditions, you providing your consent will also lead them to take an advantage of over you and process your data in an irrelevant matters which you are not really aware of, or kind of.
Yeah, I think that's a fairly good point, Vinod. You've made that WhatsApp was an amazing point. I think most people here would also relate to it, because I think I spend most of my time on WhatsApp these days. I have to communicate quickly and it just gets the job done. But that's a private space for me. But if a company is trying to, kind of barge into that privacy, in that private space of me, it's not something that makes me happy. It annoys me. But at the same time, because there's no law, right? Even no matter if you have to use a company's services, some company actually mandate that you accept the terms, right?
Yeah.
And within that, there would be a small clause around how they are also targeting you for further marketing, right? So
Yeah.
that's also one of the issues that you would see. Uh, talking a bit about, we spoke about how what is privacy to people and how is it relevant in India. So Vinod, according to you, why do you think one should choose a career in privacy? And what is the scope, right? If you remember, when you did your engineering, a lot of people would have come to you and told you that engineering has a huge scope in India, right? And similarly, I think it's one question that bothers everyone: why choose a career in privacy? What is the scope, what is the future scope for this particular domain?
Sure, I am happy to answer and showcase some real-time examples what I have went through and why I stick to this profession and career. One thing is, if you see, not only in privacy but also generic matter. One thing is the demand and supply, right? Not just in career but also in other aspects of life. So the demand and supply, if it is if the supply is more and the demand is less, then you tend to have very less career opportunities. With respect to privacy, the demand is more and the supply is less. The reason behind the people having right set of knowledge, right set of skill set is very low in the market. And in coming years, with upcoming digital personal data protection bill in India, the demand will only going to increase and rise in coming years. So this is the right opportunity for anyone who wants to switch their career at the early stage of their, if they are in the early stage or the later point of time as well. So privacy is not a rocket science or anything. It's more related to understanding the requirements and making sure that organization is following and achieving the compliance with it. So if you consider learning new language or a new technology, it is much simpler than that. And like I said, the supply is going to increase in coming years. Supply need The demand is going to increase in coming years, and as of now, the supply is very less. If you develop the right set of skills, then you will be with right set of certification, you can differentiate among the candidates who applied for a position, and you will be in the first position or a shortlisted kind of candidates for the next round of interviews as such. Along with that, the other aspect is, like I said, when the demand is high, directly it goes to the compensation as well, right? When there's a lack of talent, the compensation for that particular talent is very high. For example, if you see uh, uh, a Java developer or anyone, right? There are lots and lots of people who have that particular skill set in the market. And for one particular open position, there you could tend to see there are 3,000, 4,000 people who would be applying for that particular position. And you would be competing with those number of people in order to secure a job in that particular company. With respect to privacy, if you consider the skill
I
set
think
is
that
already
3,000, 4,000 is probably the total number of privacy professionals in
yes,
India right now.
yeah, yeah. So
So I think,
and like information security has already became the basement or base function, like HR business function for any company. Information security and data privacy goes hand in hand, and data privacy with upcoming bills and the new trend that's happening in the market, not only in India, across the globe, it becomes an essential business function for any company. If you consider, irrelevant of the sector, whether if it's a tech industry or educational industry, alcohol beverage industry, or any industry, if you consider, this will be considered as a base function. And so the number of people in coming years needs will be very high, and you will be in very demand position if you have right set of skills. Along with that, compensation, right? So that is also, if you consider a global trend, with the right set of certifications, you can tend to see what is the average compensation that you will be paid by the companies or the industry, right? So these are the major factors why you should consider your career in privacy, and how you can enjoy as well, right? Because I'm in this profession for last 5 years. I did a lot of projects for different sector clients in Big Four, and I joined an in-house role in my last company, and I'm joining as a privacy compliance officer for Dubai Economy and Tourism in January. So the opportunities are the learning and the exposure is humongous, and you can tend to see you tend to learn and at the same time enjoy this particular career. So people who want to
right.
switch
Vinod, just
or
wanted to add in there that there's a comment here in the chat section, which is something also that we want to take it up in our session. So Rashmi Ranjan just has a query about whether India does not have a privacy regulation yet, right? So if you can also put some light on the bill that came up in 19, as well as the draft that came up in October as well, if you want to shed some light on that, please.
Sure. India in 2019 came up with a personal data protection bill, and it went on to various. It was put into the for people for comments or suggestions, and unfortunately, all of the 95% of the recitals that are published were provided or recommended for to go through some suggestions. So that made the government to appoint a committee, and they came up with a revision version of the personal data protection bill of 2019 with a digital personal data bill, and it's also currently open for suggestions for people, and right. So in coming years, like I said, in not more than a year or so, we can tend to see this particular bill going to be passed as a regulation, and companies who are falling into the scope of it need to adhere and comply with.
Right. So, having said that, I think if you look at the four pointers we have also highlighted, and something that Vinod also covered, that why should you choose a career in privacy? And these are some stats that probably are relevant for people who like to look at numbers, because I'm one of those, right? So, we made sure that those numbers are there so to help you understand. The sources of all these numbers are IAPP articles or other relevant articles or research bodies that conduct researches on this. So higher compensation is something that we're seeing year on year for privacy professionals because of a lot of privacy roles opening up. And this is also directly related to the new legislations that are coming in and the issues around cross-border data transfer as well. Right, one of the biggest issues that you see in different countries, and in an outsourcing environment, cross-border data transfer will happen. Right, so how do you make sure that you also have the right kind of safeguards to enable that? So those kind of situations have opened up new privacy roles. It has also made a country like India come up with a new data privacy law because they want to make sure that the economy is, of course, not affected by it, but at the same time, providing rights to data principles in India. So looking at increase in demand, there's a 30% increase in demand that we've noticed. New legislations around 194 countries that we looked at in the scope. 137 of them had a data protection legislation in place. Maybe not as concrete or maybe not as comprehensive as the GDPR, but that's definitely a start on what kind of regulations are coming up in different countries. Right, having said that, I think it also would help, if you can help people understand what would be the right kind of roadmap that they can follow if they are new into data privacy, or if they are planning to transfer to data privacy from an IT or an information security role, or a relevant role that may be considered important from a privacy angle. So over to you, Vinod.
Thanks, Krishna. So first, developing the right set of knowledge, like I said before, understanding the basic definitions of data privacy and the founding principles of data privacy, uh, understanding them clearly, having a right set of knowledge, and also developing, going through the GDPR regulation, which I stressed again. So GDPR, like I said, many regulations take that as a standard and as a foundation, and they made some changes, tweaks according to the law of land. If you consider GDPR, this, they consider racial discrimination as a sensitive personal data. If you consider um, Mexico, they consider financial data as a sensitive personal data, and even signature is considered as a sensitive personal data according to their law of land. So, on a high level, the definitions, the principles remain same across the globe, and the requirements that are stated out or outlaid in the particular country's regulation may change in order to uh, relay or refer. The standard thing is to go through the GDPR. If you browse yourself, you can tend to find the requirements and the overall stats about GDPR and what are the principles of it and what are the key requirements. And if you understand that GDPR and then if you refer to any other regulation, it will really help you out, and you can easily relate to the reading that what you have read through in GDPR. So first thing is understanding and developing the knowledge by looking at the basic principles, definitions, and also going through companies' websites, like I mentioned earlier. Uh, Visiting their privacy policies, their legal and policy centers, and how they are dealing with personal data. You tend to visit multiple companies in different sectors and different services. You tend to observe and see how they are dealing with personal information that you share with them. Second thing is looking out for opportunities. If you are from information security background or any other profession, or if you have a project within your internal organization, shadowing the team that are working on the project, or asking for a change within your current company, or if you find any internship that is kind of available for you, join, applying for that internship, understanding the key requirements, and knowing how in real time companies work and deal with the data privacy requirements. um, Third one is again devising a career path, having proper research on the open positions that are available in the data privacy. If you are from legal profession, you could see a privacy counsel, and if you are from engineering background, you could see privacy analyst or privacy engineer, right? So with respect to your current position and your expertise or your undergraduate degree, there are different diverse positions that are there in the open market. So doing proper research on them. And fourth is enhancing the knowledge by by taking the IAPP membership or subscribing to the IAPP mailing list, understanding the changes that are happening in the privacy field, and any new upcoming regulations, going through them, understanding the key differences with the existing one and the new one, and keeping an eye on the changes. Along with that, developing the skill set and the having IAPP certification will also add a lot of value and to your resume, and it will act as it will uh, differentiate you with respect to other people who are in the same domain. Again, on the fifth one is like extensive research uh, with respect to your current degree, whether you want to go with a privacy counsel position or a privacy engineer position is something you need to do, and look out for what are your interests and what are your strong expertise or your background or undergraduate degree is currently. For example, if you are from an engineer by profession, you companies in US and other regions are trying to tend to open market for people with engineering and also at the same time privacy background. For example, you are a developer and you have a privacy knowledge or a privacy skill set. There are a lot of open positions with respect to privacy engineer who help them have privacy by design implemented right from the development phase. If you are from a legal background, if you want to continue a career with privacy, there are a lot of in-house privacy counsel positions where you would be a main point of contact in dealing with data processing agreements, subcontractor agreements, and various other aspects within the legal function. So these are the five things that you need to look into, uh, and once you have a clear roadmap and strategy, you can build your career in data privacy, and you can see the heights and the long potential that this particular career has.
Right. So I agree with that. Also, having said that, Vinod, one thing I want to add is that privacy is a evolving domain, right? It is not something that is hard fast and will definitely follow whatever is written in one particular law, because there are new amendments made, recitals are there that you would also see happening, right? So it's a very evolving sector, and with the advent of emerging technologies coming into the picture, there would be different privacy aspects that we may have not yet or we are not yet ready for, right? So these things would definitely come into picture, and if you feel that it's probably a field where you just have to remember a law and practically implement it. It's nothing like that, right? So another aspect of it is that if you look at the business perspective, you would also have to understand a lot of different business processes to make sure that you can also give out the relevant privacy advice there, right? Because uh, in most cases, data privacy is something that would also prevent you from doing business in a certain section or certain country, because you don't have the necessary measures in place to protect that personal data, right? In those events, you will have to understand the business process to an extent where you can give out some practical advice, not just straight out go and say that this cannot be done, right? So there are ways that you have to also align it to the business, but at the same time also be compliant to a data privacy law, right? Now, some skills required for privacy professionals, right? This is something we know touched briefly upon, right? From an information security perspective, how would you come in and be understanding of the data privacy issues that would be there? But also, if you are from a legal background, what are the different privacy roles that would be open to you? So, Vinod, can you also focus a bit on the different type of roles, such as privacy engineering or maybe privacy research, right? So these new roles are coming in, privacy consultant. What do you think would be some skills that would be required to be aligned to these roles?
Sure. Like I said, right? Again, it depends on the company, and there are different backgrounds or business functions for every company. Uh, Privacy counsel is something you could tend to see on LinkedIn, or for the open positions. Along with that, privacy engineering, privacy consultant, privacy operations specialist, data privacy analyst. So there are various positions that are open in the market, and if you are from a legal background and have a perceived law degree, and then privacy counsel is something that may be relevant for you, and because you tend to deal with the contracts and various other aspects related to privacy counsel aspect, because when you are onboarding a vendor or selling a product, you would be dealing with the legal aspects of privacy in that particular company. So, for example, if you are from a data privacy operations specialist, you would be tending to manage the requirements such as building record of processing activities, data mapping, fulfilling the data subject rights, and various other in-house operations side. If you are from an engineering background who have a sound engineering skill set like product development and various languages that you already know, then if you by developing privacy knowledge and skill set, you tend to see in coming years there are already a couple of privacy engineer positions that are open in Microsoft, Google. That kind of culture you can also tend to see in our Indian companies like Flipkart, Myntra, right? So people engineering background who wants to be in that profession but want to see the advantages of privacy, they can just bring on this new skill set along with the existing one and try and find out the opportunities within that particular domain. And with respect to data privacy consultant, again, if you are from a audit background, or a person who wants to work for Big Four, you tend to provide consulting and advisory services to companies who wants to adhere and comply with privacy regulations, right? So you can select that particular role and title as well, if you want to be part of Big Four in the early junction or a early part of your career where there is a lot of learning, and you tend to see the career, what career you want to build at that point of time. If you want to, then you can also look out for a data privacy consultant role. So with respect to information security, again, when you are move up the ladder in the information security domain, right? So like an information security manager or governance manager or risk compliance officer, you tend to have knowledge not just on information security but also on various other aspects of the broader domain of cybersecurity. So that way, if that is your goal, then having this right set of skill set in privacy will help you reach that particular managerial position and deal the problems and the challenges that any organization is facing when you reach up to that particular managerial role. So these are the things that you can look into and decide which role could be at better according to your situation, you can consider them and start your career in privacy.
Right. I think it was very well said because I also see a lot of people in the comment section asking about the certifications that you need to do or what certifications would be relevant for different kind of backgrounds. So we'll just touch base upon that too in the next few slides. We'll cover that. But bear with us till then because we also want to cover, the kind of skills you would require to start as a privacy professional. So looking at information security, I think Vinod rightly said that you would understand the broader scope of a business, how information security pans out or spreads in different business processes, and what are the relevant solutions or tools that you came up with to solve a particular problem too, right? So data privacy would not be very difficult for someone who has that kind of experience. It would not be difficult for you to transfer into a different domain or switch to a different domain. So it would come to you naturally because you have been protecting confidential data for a long time. It's just that you have to change your perspective a little, because from aligning your objectives to business requirements, you now have to align your objective to a regulatory requirement. Right? So that kind of change would come in, and it's not very difficult to pivot into data privacy for people from different backgrounds, right? So Vinod, I just would want to also cover upon the indicative functions. The kind of activities you would do as a privacy professional, looking at data discovery, ROPA. So if you can give a high level overview of what are these activities and what are these about, and how can one learn maybe some of the free resources that are available on the internet about it, and would you also prefer that people join in specialized trainings for this? What would be your recommendation there?
Sure, Krishna. So these are the general tend to day-to-day activities that people in privacy function will tend to do in the role that they are working, right? So one is most of them might be the requirements under the regulation that the company needs to adhere and comply with. For example, data discovery and record of processing activities. It's more related to understanding the data processing, right from collection, processing, sharing, archiving, and data deletion aspects. Having right set of documentation will help you know where exactly the data is being shared and transferred and managed and used within your organization. With respect to these aspect, even privacy impact assessment or data protection impact assessment, you can tend to find some of the templates and how generally these templates look like, right? You can find them on iapp resources as well as ICO, Information Commissioner Office UK. These are the very good standard a place where I tend to refer them when at the early point of my career, where you can download the templates and see how these documents in real time look like, and what are the different fields and information that generally people document in that, and how much value that these things will add to a company. When you go through it, you can definitely understand. Along with that, privacy by design, right? Whenever you are into a product development company, whenever you are developing a new product, new feature, new service, or anything that consists of personal data, thinking about privacy right from the start of the particular project will help you solve the privacy challenges and privacy aspects. And incorporating privacy into a design is something many people tend to deal with in the product based company. So having discussions with the product development team, understanding their key business requirement, and achieving that business requirement at the same time as a privacy consultant or a privacy analyst, how you help them understand the importance of privacy and making sure that they are processing only limited, adequate, relevant information in order to achieve the of their business objective. Other one is data breach management, right? Whenever there is a data breach, you tend to observe and see that there are various data breaches that are happening. One is Uber, which was all over the news in last couple of months, right? So whenever such incident happen, how generally the organizations manage it, what are the key things that they do in order to understand the overall impact or a risk or the level of personal data that was leaked or that went onto a breach. So data breach management will again people will work with diverse business functions like information security, and there is a legal business function, and other internal business functions, to understand and see what is the overall impact of that particular breach and what are the necessary steps that they need to take in order to reduce the overall impact. At the same time, documenting the learnings and making sure that these things won't be repeating in the coming years. So managing and having a policy, a document, and creating a procedure around it whenever such kind of scenario happens. What are the roles and responsibilities of each business function within an organization? Vendor risk management, again, like information security, privacy. When you are onboarding a vendor, understanding about what personal data they require and how you are sharing it with them, and how they are securing it, and making sure that they are protecting it and using it only for authorized purpose. Before onboarding or establishing business relationship, performing privacy audit or privacy assessment on them, and is something generally people do in an in-house role, or working for client companies. Uh, Along with that, contract reviews from privacy perspective, when you are selling up your product, uh, with respect to the privacy roles and responsibilities, which information you act as a controller and which information you act as a processor, and in case of any data breach, if you are processing it, what are your roles and responsibilities, defining them in the particular contract when you are selling a product, and agreeing with your client or with your customer is something generally legal people will deal with, privacy councils, where there will be a lot of discussions that are happening. Along with that, where Krishna has previously mentioned, the one of the major challenge is with respect to cross-border data transfer, right? So each regulation would have different requirements that personal data should be stored EU, or it can be stored in adequacy list of countries. If it is going other than that, then there should be proper list of adequate controls in place in order to make sure that the personal data shared will be protected throughout its life cycle. So dealing with respect to those aspects, and when an organization is acquiring a business or trying to enter into new markets, right? If that is the case, then understanding the requirements in that particular region, and if there is already a privacy regulation that is applicable in that regulation, you need to understand and see how you are functioning currently and what are the changes that you need to do in that particular new region in order to achieve the compliance. So again, these are the other projects that you tend to work in any company. With respect to resources, ICO and IAPP are the very good standard resources that I recommend people to go through the templates, documents, and understand how generally these documents look like.
Right. So, thank you, Vinod. I think it was really helpful because people usually ask a lot of questions around, if I become a data privacy professional, what would my day look like? What are some activities that I would do on a daily basis? And how do I actually understand whether this particular role means that there are multiple sub functions within data privacy too, right? Data privacy is not just one major category. There are multiple different functions that you would identify when you read through the job responsibilities that are posted. So, right. So I would just take over the career options one. And I think there's also a question from Shahana around if we can shed some light on data protection officer. Right. So a data protection officer is responsible for the data privacy initiatives in an organization. Now, some regulations mandate having a data protection officers. There are certain other guidelines or requirements on when you should definitely have one and when it is good to have one, right? When it is mandatory to have a DPO and when it is good to have a DPO. So those regulations also mention these things, right? And looking at EU, looking at other regulations in other countries, DPO is one common or standard term that you would see in multiple regulations across the globe, right? This pyramid, of course, it's just a pyramid. Don't be you know do not look at it and say that a privacy analyst can be at one of the entry level roles or one of the top level roles, because it is subject to how an organization's structure is, internal structure is, right? So you would also see analysts at top level or middle management level as well, but you would also see analysts at entry levels as well, right? But this is some indicative functions or roles that are defined in organizations, starting from VP, the topmost position. It bottoms down to data privacy analysts, research associates, as well as privacy technologists who try and imbibe privacy by design, culture, and concepts into product development. Right. So a lot of Indian companies these days are worried about launching their product in the EU, and data privacy is one of the core reasons on why they are actually speculating or contemplating whether they should actually launch their product or not in the EU region or any other country where they have a strict data privacy law. Right. So career options are immense. They are there, and you would see these openings probably on LinkedIn, and you would also see these openings lying for multiple months or weeks. Gives you a sense of idea how much demand there is for data privacy professionals in the domain right now. Right. So Shahana, just directly answering your question now around the role of DPO as well. Right. Privacy leadership. So any kind of leadership initiatives or strategic initiatives around privacy is taken by the DPO, required by GDPR and many other data protection legislations. The key part of becoming a DPO or being a DPO is that it needs to be an independent role. There should be very little involvement from the top management to restrict the DPO from doing their day to day operations or from complying to a regulatory requirement. Because if that independence is not there, then the DPO, the role that they would do would not actually suffice or not fit into the requirements of the legislation. Right. So the DPO's role is not to uh, become a business person or support the business objectives by non-complying to the regulations. Their role is to make sure that the business purposes, initiatives, or processes are always aligned to these regulatory requirements. Right, a DPO cannot be a data controller either. Right, they cannot hold a position where they are responsible for determining the means and purposes of processing personal data. It is up to the business on whether they define the means and purposes. The DPO's role would be to guide them to make sure that appropriate safeguards and appropriate controls from privacy and a security perspective are put in place so that they can comply to the regulation or the regulatory requirements. Right. And a DPO is a very independent role. What that also means is that a DPO cannot have a conflicting role, which also conflicts them from fully performing their duties as a data protection officer. Now, as an example, if I am a DPO, but I'm also the head of product development, right, in that case it would create a direct conflict of interest because I would ideally want my product to be developed in a way that it can be sold, but at the same time I would also want from a DPO's perspective to imbibe privacy by design practices. So it would create a direct conflict of interest, maybe cause issues for the independence of a DPO's role. Right, and ensuring compliance with data protection requirements is one of the additional responsibilities that the DPO takes up. They are also the single point of contact for communication with supervisory authorities. It could be that if your DPO is not based out of that particular country, you can also have a representative, but at the same time your DPO, all direct requests should be directed to the DPO so that they can take the necessary action, and they can also suggest their privacy team on what to do next around it. Right. Okay. Vinod, I'll just also take over this slide and go quickly so that we can jump on to the certification section.
Yeah.
Right. So, earning potential of a DPO, right? Why should you switch to privacy? Is it something that is worth your time, and would it be monetarily effective or support your future goals? Now, all this data that you see, these are just references that we have taken up from certain websites. We are not certain about the sources. This could be subjective unless Vinod wants to tell his salary, right? So just kidding there. So looking at Europe, right, the average salary is somewhere around 72,000, 71,000. Looking at the US, senior data privacy roles or DPO roles can go as high as 150 to 200 is what I have seen and what these websites have also mentioned. Looking at the UK, entry level roles start with 28 and experienced DPOs can go up to 7,500. Now, if you look at these numbers, and if you also remember the previous slide where we had a 22% increase in the compensation, right? So this is just the starting. This is just when the roles have been developed to an extent that they can be fulfilled. But as you see, when the demand is more and there are not enough privacy professionals to cater to the need, this would just increase. Right. And it is not easy. Privacy is not an easy subject. It's a very highly complicated subject. And the more you get into it, the more you understand that these are complications or these are things that you might have not heard about before. And then you would need to, talk to the community, talk to different people to understand their perspectives around it. And when it's still unclear, that's when you go to the supervisory authority for, some kind of comments on it. So it's still a developing domain, right? It's an evolving domain. And in India, of course, it goes from 15 lakhs to 1 crore for senior roles as per Glassdoor. So these are just some numbers that we have in place. as a reference for people to also understand the range and the extent of earning potential of a DPO. Now, coming on to certifications, Vinod, so if you can also talk about some certifications. I mean, a couple of them are something that you have also done. So, what is your experience about these certifications, and why do you think which certification would be relevant for which particular privacy-oriented role?
Sure, Krishna. So I myself have CIPP, CIPM, and I have not completed CIPT, but I have gone read through the book of CIPT to understand the requirements with respect to technology aspects of privacy. So if you're a person, an engineering background, like I said, who wants to apply for upcoming privacy engineer or open privacy engineer positions, good to start with CIPT, where you tend to relate to the engineering and the technology aspects of it. And if you are from a law, and if you are from uh, any other background, if you want to understand the key requirements and the basics of GDPR and data privacy itself, CIPP I would suggest, because uh, GDPR is a standard, and CIPP-A, CIPP-US, CIPP-Canada, all other you can easily correlate to, and understand once you have this certification. So CIPP, you can tend to understand the broad understanding of the requirements of the law itself, and CIPM, when you have CIPP certifications, you understand the core requirements, and you want to apply them into a project itself, a project managerial role, then CIPM will definitely guide you with the things that you need to keep in mind with respect to various aspects, such as vendors, product developments, obligations, requirements, privacy operations related aspects, and new things that you need to keep in mind when your organization is going for merger acquisition aspect. So that will help you develop the strategy and create a project plan to achieve the privacy compliance. These are the three certifications from IAPP, and CPDSC is again from ISACA, where it will help IT professionals to understand the key aspects of technology, along with the key requirements of data collection, processing, storage, and transmission of personal data. So these four will definitely help you and add a lot of value. With respect to me, I have perceived the CIPP in 2020 May. That time there was no institution who providing training for people who wants to perceive or achieve the certification. We just went through the book that was there, published by APP, and cleared the exam. And now Tsaaro has come up with very good content and learning. They will definitely help you with you with respect to clearing and achieving your certification goal. Again, CTDPO is again a certification from Tsaaro, where you understand the key requirements, roles, and responsibilities of DPO. What your day look like if you are a DPO in your career, and generally how people achieve the compliance with respect to regulations, privacy regulations. Because at a DPO, you tend to take decisions, right? Whenever you are entering into a new market regions, at that particular level, your decisions will uh, add the strategy for a company in order to deal with the personal data. So these certifications are very good in the market, and will add a lot of value and differentiate you with respect to other people who are working in this field. One such example is, you can consider me itself. I did CIPP in 2020, and I tend to implement the learnings what I have read through the certification in my previous role. And as I was for the senior consultant, where I was leading the projects, I took CIPM, understand the key managerial aspects about privacy project compliance, and implemented them, and learned and implemented in the real time in my career as well. So these certifications really added a lot of value and showed a lot of credibility in my resume as well when I applied for other opportunities last few years. So Yeah, I'll just
Right.
hand over
So
to
I
Krishna.
think that's a pretty good explanation, Vinod, on how each certification is uniquely tailored to a specific role within data privacy. So, I mean, if you look at data privacy, there are different functions, sub-functions, and each certification, is catered to at that specific sub-function too. So, if you are a hardcore technologist and you still want to continue privacy engineering or privacy technology, CIPT is a pretty good course for that, right? Then, having said that, I think the HCI SSP is something that is more aligned to the HIPAA compliance in the US. So, if you are in the US or if you're looking for healthcare compliance, it is also one of the certifications that is readily available. Now, I will just take over this last section, Vinod, over how can Tsaaro help. Right. So I'll just shed some light over CTDPO and how is it different from any of the other courses that you have in the industry. Now, this is one of the courses that we have created as an organization, and the first and foremost, what I would want to talk about is the accreditation. Right. If you look at IPP courses, they are also accredited by an international independent body on having the right set of quality and the right set of content delivery, which also makes these courses more desirable. Similarly, we are also accredited with a European Union accreditation body known as EIPACC, right? And we are also accreditation. We also took this accreditation for each of the different type of courses we have around CTDPO. Now, if you're someone who's new to the domain, who also wants to understand what is privacy exactly about, or just wants to understand the fundamentals of it, that the foundation course would be for you. If you are someone who has been in the industry for a while and understands how data flows in IT systems, or maybe understands a little bit of legal perspectives on data privacy, the second one, the intermediate, would be really good for you. If you're someone who's a data privacy practitioner or has started with your role, or has probably spent a couple of years and wants to understand the other sub functions of data privacy, we have the practitioner course for you. Right, each of these courses are also tailor made based on the relevant experience you have. They also come with a set of prerequisites, and our mentors actually help and guide you which course would be more suitable for you. At the same time, one of the unique activities about these courses are that we have also partnered with industry leading tools or privacy management tools that also help you understand how can you automate certain privacy operations, or how can you also implement tools in your global organizations. Right, if you are a part of a global organization, you would definitely be considering evaluating an automation tool for automating certain privacy oriented operations. That is where our partnerships with Divebell and Privado come into picture. We would also help you understand how these tools are run. We would give you access a sandbox environment for you to run and understand how these tools function, and that's of course included as a part of the package. Right, so it's something that will give you an edge over other professionals because you have experience in running these tools which are widely regarded in the industry. Now, if you look at data discovery, for example, it's one of the biggest pain points for a data privacy professional. So if you talk to any data privacy professional and mention data discovery, you would see the smile from their face, going off, because it's a very difficult process, very difficult technology to implement, and fully implementing it across the organization is not an easy task, right? That is where the partnership with Divebell comes in. Divebell is a data discovery tool that will help you understand how to also evaluate certain other tools in the domain, right? So not looking at it from an implementation perspective, but also how to make sure what are the key features of each of these tools that will help you perform your daily role, right? I think that also brings us to the end of our session, Vinod. I would just, put it up for people if they want to, what they want us to connect you to mentors or have a mentorship session. You can simply scan the code, just fill in a couple of details so that we can reach out to you, and then we would also assign the right set of mentors who can help you guide on what would be the right steps for you. And of course, this mentorship session is absolutely free of cost. There's no cost associated with it, and we have mentors, including Vinod and other people from the industry, who would be happy to have a discussion with you and also, guide you on your path to data privacy or becoming a privacy professional. So feel free to fill in the form, and Vinod, I think I would just hand it over to you as a thank you note towards the end, if you want to, share your final pieces of advice for all the people who joined in today.
First of all, I would like to thank you for the opportunity and sharing my insights. I hope I made clear a couple of things with respect to data privacy, how to start your career, and like Krishna mentioned, if you want to take any of our help in order to understand more about which path or which role might be suitable for you in coming years, please fill up the form, and we would be definitely happy to help you out and in your professional career. So thanks for the opportunity again for Krishna and Tsaro. Happy to be part of contributing to the privacy profession. So I wish everyone who enjoyed the session and hope you have a nice day ahead.
Thank you, Vinod. I think having said that, privacy is a very inclusive community. We are a small community, and we want to make sure we can expand that. So any kind of help you would need, people would be more than happy to assist you in your journey too. So feel free to reach out. You can also connect to Vinod or me on LinkedIn if you're not already connected. It would be great if you can send out a request, and you can also message there. We are happy to respond to you. So with that, I think it's good that we can close this session. So thank you everyone for coming in, and I hope you could take out some insights from this Wednesday session. And the reason we kept it in the evening is so that you can also finish up your work and come up for this session. So thank you again. Thank you for your time, and thank you, Vinod, for your insights. I think it was really, really helpful. And yeah, I think with that we can close the session. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.